you should do things even when you're scared. Bravery is not a feeling. Bravery is an action. On this video, I want to share with you guys some of the situations in which I had to be brave, but I was so scared. I was literally like shitting my pants, but I did move on. But I moved on either way, even though I felt scared and I felt fear, and I didn't really know where I was going or where things were heading. I took a step, I trusted life. And the thing that I think it's the most important when you move, even when you're scared, when you do things, even when you're scared, is that it shows the universe that you trust it. I am a huge believer in the universe, in a higher power. I don't necessarily think I believe in God, but I do believe that there's someone or something watching over us here on earth. And when you trust life, it's just much better. Because we need to understand, I think it's important to understand that we can't control everything. And it's important to accept that as soon as possible. We can't control everything. We barely can control ourselves, and imagine control our own lives. I think that trust, it's walking into the dark. It's not really knowing where things are going to lead, but trusting that very first spark of light. Trust for me, it's literally, that's the vision I always get when I take a step into the unknown, into a place I've never been before. And trust is the light that lights the next step. It doesn't show me all the way, but it shows me where to go next. And some examples I wanted to give you. I wanted to talk about 3 moments in my life where I had to be very brave and I had to trust life. For example, in 2022, I think 2021, during the pandemic, before the pandemic started, I was an engineering student. And I was completely unhappy. And that's something to notice. Unhappiness and dissatisfaction with your life, or unsatisfaction, I don't know, sorry. Unsatisfaction? I think so. When you're not happy with your life, that's a big sign that there's something wrong, that something needs to change. I had lived my whole life in the same place. I was studying in a university in my hometown. I was still living with my mother. I was like 23, 24 years old. And I felt deeply unsatisfied with my life. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Anyway, I wasn't happy. And I realized I needed a change. I needed to do something with my life. I needed to start living what I believed was aligned with who I was. And since I started teaching, since I started college, I also started teaching. I'm an English teacher, and I don't know how to say unsatisfied or satisfied or dissatisfied. I don't know. Gosh. No wonder I'm on YouTube now, huh? Anyway, I am a good teacher. But um but so I decided to switch degrees, and I was so scared because I had been studying engineering for like 3 years or something. And I just knew there was something wrong, that wasn't for me. I wasn't good at it. I just couldn't keep up. And I had a job already in education, and I wanted to be a teacher. So I just thought, well, I should probably change to languages. Change degrees in your early 20s. It's not that scary now that I look back at it with like 29. But back in the moment when you're actually living it, I remember that I was shaking. And that had a lot to do with my relationship with my mother, because we didn't get along so well. So I was scared of her opinion. I was scared of her reaction. I thought she would just be angry at me because I decided to change my degrees and I didn't talk to her about it. What was I thinking? And I know that all that fear, all that overthinking, I had to talk to friends and therapists about it. And no one knew what I was doing except those trusted people. And I wrote about it, and I did all the things I could, and I would like wake up and go to sleep thinking about that. And when I did take the plunge and I shifted degrees and I told everyone, guess what? Nothing happened. No one yelled at me. No one called me a loser or said that I was making a huge mistake. No one did that. It was all in my head. I was terrified that my mom would be angry and yell or do something or call me names or whatever, but she didn't. She was like, okay, if that's what you want. And I was like, okay, that's what I want. So you see, sometimes we tend to overthink for no reason. Another time I did that was when I decided to move to a big city, right? I live in Brazil and I used to live in Rio. And then I said, I want to move to Sao Paulo, which is a big city here in Brazil. And I didn't say that to anyone at first. I just waited around for an opportunity to show up. And by that time, I had already been working as a teacher for like 5 years, 4 years actually. And I was a school coordinator in Rio. So I had an opportunity to work with coordination in another school in Sao Paulo, and I went through the process with them. I did everything, and only when I got the opportunity, that's when I told my family. And you may think, wow, did you know anyone in Sao Paulo? Did you have friends in there or something? I didn't. No, I did not. I remember that they asked me during the process, like, do you have a place to stay? Do you have family over here? And I said, yes. I didn't know a single soul in that place. I didn't have a single friend, no one I could report to, or ask for help in case of an emergency. But once I got there, I made friendships. My life changed completely. And it's only because I took the chance. Once again, an act of bravery, right? Act of bravery, not a feeling. Throughout the process, I was terrified. I was scared that they weren't going to give me the job. I was scared that I would get there and everything would go wrong, that they would fire me in the first 3 months or on the first day at work. I don't know. I was scared that I was going to lose that opportunity at any given point, but I didn't. I didn't. I was completely safe. I had a job for 3 years until I decided to go to England, and everything worked out just fine. I made friends, I traveled, I went to lots of parties, I had a great time, I was good at my job, I grew as a person in many ways, and I enjoyed my 20s, my late 20s, right? Because I was 26 when I moved there. I enjoyed it fully and I had a great time. So I think that, imagine if I hadn't taken the chance. Imagine if I had just allowed fear to stop me. We miss a lot of stuff. We miss lots of opportunities because of fear. So you need to take chances. Life is much more exciting outside our comfort zones. Comfort zones may seem comfortable, but they're often more oppressing than comfortable. They're often just trying to keep you where you are when you can't really explore your full potential. But when you get out, that's when you're able to see yourself for more than just what your parents or people that have seen you for so long think you are. That's the problem with being around the same people always, is that they expect you to be the same too. And it's completely against the nature of existence, guys. We change over time. So sometimes we need to get out. We need to have this space to change. Depending on where you live, where you were brought up, people don't like change. They don't like different. They don't like that you have a new style or a new haircut or that you dress a certain way, especially if you live in small towns. The small town people would know what I'm talking about. Okay, so, or when you're like, you have a close-knit relationship with your family, it's really hard to grow, to experiment, to be a different version of yourself if you're still surrounded by the same people. If you're still in the same place with the same people, you're always going to live the same life. And that's the truth, okay? Great risks will bring you great experiences. You need to allow yourself to experience life fully. And it's not in your comfort zone that you're going to be able to do that. That's my experience. That's how I see things, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.